So I documented my entire educational journey online. This is what I've observed. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Elsa, and this channel is about self-empowerment to community empowerment to changing our stars through difficult conversations. What a mouthful. Earlier this summer, I started a PhD journey series for my channel. I wanted to be sure that I get these videos out, a few videos out actually, before 2024, before the new year. And specifically, I wanted to get this video out. Today, I'm celebrating my 2-year anniversary of my doctoral footing. 2 years ago, I had my dream come true participating in a doctoral footing ceremony. And I'll talk about the significance of that as well. But I just have a few articles in the description of this video as well that represent what I am going to talk to you about today. I'll be sharing more of my, thoughts and reflections about the doctoral journey on Medium as well as in this PhD journey series. The first one I'm referring to is documenting the PhD journey, and this is what this video is going to be about. The second one is in reference to the title doctor, and I'll talk to you more about that. I just want to share some initial thoughts about the doctoral footing ceremony, since it was precisely 2 years ago today that I experienced that sort of incredible moment. So it was indeed a bittersweet moment, given the dynamics of the time, and during the pandemic and some other challenges that occurred, but the footing ceremony was something that I dreamed about for a very long time in connection to becoming doctor and becoming a scholar. So it was just so surreal, that moment, and I couldn't really fully take it in because of the fear of not being able to take it in, as well as sort of just the moment of feeling a little bit, I guess, displaced in a sense. I was just today I took the time to sort of reminisce about that time. And I was just thinking about that time, the idea that I just sort of expected myself to be at a different place, by now. 2 years after that doctoral footing ceremony, I'm still sort of at the same place, same transition. Something that I had to embrace during my doctoral journey, the whole concept of better late than never. And I kind of feel like I'm still embracing that at the moment. So it has been precisely 2 years since I became PhD, and like I said, I really expected to be in a different place right now, but because of so much challenges, I couldn't really take in that moment at that time. And I'm still sort of figuring out the next big mountain for my life during this transition and figuring out what's next, while trying my best to keep that academic identity. I may lose a couple of years in the process of this transition through the hurdle to the next mountain, and I didn't realize that I wanted to remain in academia until later in the program, when things were entirely focused on trying to finish the degree. It has been excruciatingly difficult and hard. So I was thinking about all of that today while reminiscing about the footing ceremony, and just trying to remind myself of the huge accomplishment. I was sort of going through my dissertation, and thinking about the book that I want to eventually make out of the dissertation, my baby. It's just such a huge part of my identity, and it will always remain like a big part of me. And I'm trying my best not to feel like that's being erased because of all the time that I've lost and all the time that it's taken for me to sort of heal from the challenging journey that it was. When I defended and when I graduated, there was just all these different emotions that had come into play, and that is the case for a lot of PhDs who spend a great deal of time in that place. So once you've arrived at that peak of the mountain, they say that you find yourself on the bottom of another mountain. And that's sort of where I've been at. Among the different things that you face, it's definitely that loss of identity. The loss of identity that you've carried with you for a very long period of time. For me, it was approximately 10 years. I think I wrote in one of my posts, 9.9769 years or whatever. So it's important not to dwell on that and remember that you've achieved a dream, however surreal it may be. And sometimes we do need time to heal, and that's okay. But if you've spent 10, 12 years of your life and you just went through a pandemic and you've just experienced so many challenges, back to back in trying to get your PhD finished, you do need time to heal. They say it takes like at least half of the length of the relationship to get over it. So I kind of make that analogy when I'm thinking about the relationship I had with the PhD. It was a marriage. It was certainly definitely a relationship. So I kind of feel like maybe this was the universe telling me that I needed time before moving on to the next big mountain, for whether it be publishing but definitely with reference to wanting to stay connected to my research agenda, my academic agenda. It's been challenging to sort of continue with that, and to some degree I felt I was misdirected, and I went a certain route that kind of took me further away from that, and I'm trying to go back to that. So just thinking about that, it was a very emotional day for me, just thinking about that struggle. But also at the same time, I'm going to continue to honor that dream while I'm in this transition, honoring that dream, honoring that struggle, and sort of talking about the journey, because I was always in it for the journey. I have to keep reminding myself that I was on that journey, and I have entered into this never-ending journey of the PhD, and it's going to be the case going forward. It's a core part of my identity and my soul. B.B. King says, the beautiful thing about learning is that no one can take it away from you. And that's what I try to channel at this moment, at this transition, at this time. Past 2 years, it's been so challenging to the extent that it's really revealed to me a lot of different human dynamics and human relations with respect to the identity of a PhD, and whether you really hold that title of a doctor. And I'll talk about that in a future video, like once you graduate, or does it take time? One of the things that I was thinking about today was also just how challenging it is to sort of go through this process as a woman of color, as a woman in general. Just all the different identity factors that come into place when you come from marginalized identities within academia. And I want to do another video on talking about belonging and authenticity in academia, and just the challenges that marginalized people face, the whole diversity and inclusion conversation within academia. For me, like, it was a really great legacy moment, and I don't think that I wanted to sort of emphasize that it was, at least for myself, at least for my family, at least for anybody who cared. My dad would always tell me that 1,200 years of history. He was the first PhD scholar, and while I was doing my PhD, he kept on encouraging me with that story, with the fact that I would become the first female PhD scholar. And education is such a huge and such an important part of my family. So that title, doctor, was very special to me, and something that I want to embrace, fully for myself. But I understand that there's an element of trying to keep my academic identity. That has been something that's been challenging for me. In terms of sort of documenting the entire journey, that I ended up documenting my entire PhD journey. Even my sort of higher education journey and part of my being an open book was sharing the journey. I came across posts over the past couple of years that sort of went all the way back to when I first got into the program. I remember a post describing the emotions that I had and how I was screaming on the phone with my father when I saw the acceptance letter, and just running around my apartment building. I remember it was in Southwest, Washington. In Washington DC, Southwest Washington DC, and it was and I remember it was right next to the Titanic Memorial, on the Washington Channel, that apartment. And I still remember that moment. I was screaming, and I was just telling everybody that was passing around me that I got it. At the time, I was working as well. I first joined the program a part-time. I eventually became a full-time. There's 5 specific observations that I do want to talk about, because it's such, just like the PhD itself, talking about the journey needs to be talked about, in piecemeal. Just because there's so many different, layers and elements of observation about, documenting the PhD journey is that you're really doing it for yourself. I did it both online and offline as well. I would take notes, I would journal, I would document a lot of it online as well on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And especially towards the end of the journey, I created a specific diagram. It kind of emulates my PhD trajectory right here. This is called the Warrior Queen ETK's PhD trajectory, a 10-year roller coaster ride. So I document like every single core milestone and achievement throughout the journey. In this diagram, so the y-axis represents I can and I can't. Those feelings of doubt that you often get, every PhD scholar, every PhD student gets while they're doing the PhD. So as the journey was ending, I was thinking about every single milestone, every single thing I accomplished, at least the main elements of it. And I was thinking about the emotions I had at that time. For instance, like when I was first admitted into the program, I had high hopes that I could do it. I absolutely could do it. And then towards the end of towards the next semester, I went all the way down, and I had this note here covered with stars because I was hospitalized for suicidal attempt actually in the second semester. And I'll talk about mental health and the journey of mental health throughout the entire process in another video. But I was able to get out of that. I was able to return from the medical leave that I had that semester, in which I had to withdraw from courses, and then continue with full-time courses with my PhD after being part-time for the first 2-3 years. And I took then there was a qualifying exam, and then there were like different conferences as well that I attended that I documented, the field statement, field exam, the dissertation proposal defense, in each of these elements, like I'm always like going up and down with the feelings of hope, the feelings that I could do it, I can do it, I can do it. It really is about resilience as well throughout the process, and the sort of temperament and ability to sort of push through those emotions of imposter syndrome, perfectionism, and any sort of paralyzing emotion. It's all part of the journey, it's all part of the process. I thought that was really important to sort of document that. And even towards like the end of this towards the end of my journey, I documented here 6 screams, and the screams sort of represent those key milestones, like submitting the first full draft of the dissertation to my chair, and then the first one to my committee. And like I even indicated where I finally had the light at the end of the tunnel right here, and that was on Scream 3 when I put the first draft submission. I remember that was June 2021, and to the entire committee. I think what I'll do is I'll do a separate video about this diagram itself, but the point of this is that I made this diagram and I actually framed it because it was just so important for me to sort of remember the journey, the entire journey itself, and not just the results. So when you look at your diploma, you see Doctor of Philosophy, you see your name, and you do kind of reminisce about the journey, and but having that documented every single step, and to sort of studying the emotions involved in whatever way that you depict it is really powerful way for you to remember that experience, and for you to channel that in supporting future PhDs and in passing the torch and in paying it forward. And I really wanted it all to be documented entirely because I was always in it for the journey. So that's it. You're doing it for yourself, and if anything, it's all, it really is. This really doesn't mean anything to anyone else other than me. I also wanted to just share that I also framed the first letter that my mom had written for me after I completed my defense. And it was the first letter that she's ever written to me in English. And that's why it was so important. And I also framed that and tend to look at that on occasion. And I've read this probably like a billion times already. And I'll probably read it over and over again. But I'm glad that I framed it as well and kept it preserved. The second observation is about documenting about your journey doesn't actually take you away from your work. And your dissertation. It does take time to document, and it's important to document everything specifically for your dissertation. It does kind of feel like you're doubling up when you document what's happening in your journey, but it doesn't really have to be too strenuous. Just don't burn yourself out with that, and just make sure that it doesn't take you away from the work. For example, as I incorporated qualitative fieldwork and it was the crux of my dissertation, and I've linked the article below in the description about my time in Pakistan, and I had written about 26 lessons about conducting fieldwork in Pakistan, my first article on Medium actually. I don't really know if anybody else was sharing that experience online, but being that I have a sharing nature about my experiences, about my travels, and I love I actually learned from traveling abroad in Pakistan that I really enjoy blogging about my travels, and I might even do that in the future whenever I travel around the world. I love blogging about it. I love sharing about it on Facebook, and that's sort of what I did for my fieldwork, especially my pilot fieldwork. I shared everything about all the different places where I went to Pakistan, and the restaurants that I would eat, the people that I would meet. You have to be careful about anonymity with your research informants, but a lot of people who I did interview and I did sort of have meetings with were very open to me, taking their photo and also, sharing it. So you just have to make sure you have that conversation with them. Anybody that I took pics with and shared on Facebook and Instagram, they definitely gave me their permission to do so. The most important thing about specifically about this is that you want to pursue a documentary sort of method as long as it adds value to your work and it doesn't put additional pressure on you to not only share but also on your work for the dissertation. For me, it was just such a crucial part of my dissertation to take photos, and I have over 35,000 photos that I would probably consider prized possessions of mine, for the rest of my life. I'm so grateful that I took those photos, and I have those photos for future articles and future research, as well as just being able to share that, remember those moments. And it was part of the documentary process as well, just taking photos. I could even do a sort of visual ethnography eventually. The third point is about the practicality, and I think this relates to my other points about what would be the best medium for you to document the journey. So I documented, as I may have mentioned, I blogged on some pieces in my personal blog. I also shared half of my second in-depth field assessment as a travel blog of about 30 pieces or so in my professional blog. And then I also posted it on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and just observations and pictures, as I was saying earlier, about my travels on Facebook. And all of it is sort of archived and coded and categorized in Facebook as well. So that really that was a really helpful method for me to go back when I was writing an analysis, to have some of the different things that I was noting while I was traveling and while I was sharing the photos during that time. But we have to sort of be pragmatic with that, and when you're sharing in these online mediums, just think about your intentions and your motivations for sharing. As I mentioned, I do have that sharing nature. I share a great deal, of my travel experiences, my family events, and more online. It was sort of natural for me, and it became sort of part of my journey to share. So my fourth point is about celebration. My entire sort of presence on Facebook has been, honoring and celebrating other people And they're sort of big moments, from like graduations to weddings to birthday parties to anniversaries, and like I felt that, you know, when I had those moments of sort of sharing those milestone moments, those victories, the moments when you achieve a specific milestone during your PhD journey, whether it be like passing the qualifying exam, field statement, or defense proposal, submitting the final draft and whatnot, I shared those celebrations. I shared those moments of victory, you know, as well. And I want to emphasize, like, it's so important to celebrate your successes in piecemeal like that, because it helps you, you know, empower yourself and remember that it is a process. It is really about enjoying the journey and embracing your progress throughout that journey. That's why when I celebrated, you know, 2 years ago, when I shared so much about my journey, so many pictures with my family, with my parents, with my sister who came for my graduation ceremony, I celebrated that for myself, and I shared that for myself, because in the same way that I celebrated other people, because it was a very deserving moment for that. And I think that it's so, just like I was documenting my entire journey online, I was documenting the celebration of it as well. And that's why you would see some video dumping and photo dumping during that time. I think it was just a very special moment that I wanted to celebrate. And so I am all about celebrating your successes and celebrating other people's successes as well. That's part of that journey as well. And I did that throughout the process during the PhD journey, as well as when victory came with completing and defending and becoming doctor 2 years ago, also during the doctoral hooding ceremony. I connected really to empowerment. I connected to the importance of celebrating success and appreciating your own success. And I think a lot of people will look at it as lacking humility. A lot of people may, you know, as you're documenting your success, or documenting or sharing your milestones, you know, online or on your blog or whatever, you're going to get a couple of negative onlookers all the time. You're going to get people who give you the evil eye, or, you know, who express sort of feelings of resentment or jealousy, and who misinterpret, you know, your intentions and motivations for sharing things. And I know that was the case for me. You just know it. You know you're going to come across that. But you do it for yourself, and you do it for the people who are proud of you and who really believe in you and are happy for your success. I am so happy when I see other people celebrating themselves, advocating for themselves, really, you know, never being afraid to share their big moments. And that was just me sort of sharing my big moment. I can't really worry about the sort of negative onlookers, but I think everybody knows this. You're always going to get haters. You're always going to get people who are just not going to be pleased with what you share with the world. And I think being that person who's such a sharing person, like I just an open book online, I'm inviting the negative onlookers, and I can't really worry about that. I think going forward, there are moments where I have actually cared so much about that. I think going forward is a lesson learned for me, is that I'm not going to stop, you know, sharing my successes. But I am going to stop, you know, worrying about those negative onlookers, because you're just not going to get rid of them, no matter what you say, or no matter your sort of revelation of that to persist and exist. But, so celebrate your success, celebrate your milestones, each of those milestones, and I'm really proud of myself for doing that throughout. Lastly, the first thing that I talked about was doing this for yourself. The second thing that I thought that I want to talk to you about, and the beauty of documenting your journey, is being of service to others. Having that sort of archive of your records in which you can reframe and you can repackage to help others on their journey is a really valuable asset, which could help you sort of write articles and books and guides and templates to provide services to others. And that's sort of what I'm in the process of doing as well. I really think this is such a beautiful journey. It's the highest degree that one can achieve in their field, and I've learned so much in the process. I mean, it was a 10-year journey for me, and 2-decade journey in higher education, 3 decades in education, so it's just it's certainly, I have passion for education, a passion for higher postgraduate education, and I really have a lot of lessons I learned and a lot of challenges that I want to sort of share with others, and stories that I want to share with others, but also help others along with the journey, hear their stories, hear your stories. Having that sort of archive of your journey really helps you reflect on how you can present the material to other people, how you can be of service to others. Actually, I remember in my dissertation acknowledgements, I quoted my father, who always said to me that you don't just live for yourself, you live for others. In a sense, this journey is a very, very personal, lonely, and independent journey. But in the end, you, especially in a public policy degree, you're doing it to be of service to others. And there is a service element in academia, and this is where you can really, contribute in paying it forward. And I personally would like to pay it forward, pay everything forward that other people have, done for me. So many people that I acknowledge in my dissertation acknowledgements, even if they just provided, one contact, or even if they just gave me 10 minutes of their time to talk about my dissertation, I have to remember them. I try to make sure that I acknowledge them, just because it's such the whole process, it takes a village. It really takes a village, and I want to take this opportunity. I want to say thank you to all those, so many people who were on that journey with me, who helped me and support me. I revisited my dissertation acknowledgements again and was reminded again of all the people who had supported me, that incredible journey, especially in Pakistan, especially those who opened their homes out for me, opened their offices, opened their villages and communities, and I'll never forget that. I still have so many stories to share about what I experienced on the ground, and I have had the opportunity to do so, and I'll continue to hopefully seek out more opportunities to share those stories. They will always remain special to me, and I'm really grateful for everyone who took part in that project. And it was really truly, just looking at my dissertation again today, it was really an incredible project, and I'm so blessed to have had the opportunity to do so. So that's really part of the reason why I documented this story, because I knew in so many different ways the story itself and the growth that I achieved from it will support others in the quest for their education and their doctoral research and studies, as well as various other things. If there are other future researchers in Pakistan, or anybody doing field work anywhere in challenging environments, I'll be that person to sort of offer insights, or offer support, offer pay it forward the same way that other people did for me. Just like completing your doctorate is something that you embrace in piecemeal, taking it step by step, social, sharing the journey of it, and I'll continue to share more details about the specifics of what I've talked about. Some other highlights that I'd like to talk to you about a little bit more in future videos. One of them is, the challenge of mental health in academia. I want to do an entire video on it and eventually do a TED Talk, hopefully, on it as well. It became such an integral part of my process. Last thing I do want to mention is that I did acknowledge, two specific, foundations that actually helped me through my journey, starting from the middle of the program. And it really helped me build the resilience to defeat some of the mental health challenges. And the first one was the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I just went on my 9th walk earlier this year. I shared some videos about that experience, actually just in October. And the second one was the UNRWA Gaza 5K, which supported the mental health care for Palestinian refugee children. So those two things I acknowledged in my dissertation, and I also acknowledged in my, warrior queen diagram here. I, put it down here as well as part of the documentation. In light of what's happening with Palestine right now, I just wanted to make sure that I share that. that I honored, you know, sort of my fundraising and my support for UNRWA Gaza 5K, you know, in my dissertation. And I will understanding that I focus, my research is always focused on fragile and conflict affected states. You know, I'll always think about the Palestinian people, and thinking about the Palestinian people really and their struggle, and you know, going on that Gaza 5K was a big part of my resilience to be able to finish through the finish line. And you know, I even have my little medal here that they gave, and I wore this medal actually in my victory lap when I defended my dissertation. The next day I wore this, did my victory lap on that. So in light of what's happening with the Palestinian people, I just wanted to mention that it will always be a part. I will always remember, you know, anytime I need to think about resilience, I've always held, you know, the Palestinian people in my heart. I'll continue to do so. And I know that the mental health crisis in Palestine, when this war and this genocide, you know, subsides, it's just it's gonna be a huge crisis. I really want to be supportive of that. Please support UNRWA. I have linked as well UNRWA's donation link in case you would want to donate to them. I definitely have a great respect for that organization, and I'll continue to be supporting their efforts as well in the future. So I just wanted to conclude and say that although I'm not quite where I want to be right now, I made a wrong turn, you know, here and there, and I'm still so proud of where I am right now. You know, I was just talking to a colleague who just graduated right now. Congratulations, by the way. You know who you are if you watched it. Was pushed in a different direction for a while, and I'm trying to go back to, you know, the what I trained myself to do for those 10 years. I was trying to encourage her to sort of take pride in her truly incredible accomplishment, and that's something that you have to remember no matter what happens when you, because like I said earlier, you really are at a place where you feel like you're losing you've lost your identity. For me, losing that identity of a student, losing that identity as a doctoral, you know, student, or like a doctoral candidate, it was an incredible accomplishment to achieve. But if you don't have the next step in line, it is so unbelievably hard to move forward and to let go. Also to remember that in that surreal moment when you made that accomplishment, you became a doctor now, but it's going to continue. It doesn't end there. It was only the beginning of the whole, especially if you want to continue in academia, if you want to continue being a scholar, producing scholarship and whatnot. It's really there's so much more to move forward with, but you can take pride of that particular accomplishment, celebrate it, you know, take in your moment and be proud of where you are. And I must say, you know, like I was actually able to recover my dissertation defense video. So I will do a specific video of watching myself do the defense in the future, probably not before the end of the year, but certainly, definitely in the future. I bet after finally watching the defense, I will be really proud of where I am right now, you know, looking at my YouTube videos. And part of the reason why I even started this channel was because of the fact that being so disappointed about my performance on that Zoom defense. It was a virtual defense during a pandemic, and I was thinking, man, if I just started my YouTube channel before, I would have been much better off. And because, you know, 2 years after that defense, I have improved considerably my presentation abilities, my ability to communicate. And, you know, I will talk about, and I haven't had a chance yet to talk about, you know, my anxiety in public speaking. That's going to be also something that I talk about in future videos, connected to the PhD journey and just in general as well. But just thinking about the challenges that I've always had and my fear of public speaking and, you know, how much I've improved. It's just, I have reason to be proud of that, even though I do feel like I wish I was at a different state by now. I really think that it's so important to remember your incredible accomplishments, you know, throughout, and just be proud of, you know, what you have accomplished. And that's why, you know, I celebrate these moments. That's why I try to empower myself when I have any opportunity I get to remember I have faced a lot of challenges in mental health connected to my doctoral studies. It's ironic because, and I'll talk about this in the future with my mental health videos, the entire journey of the doctorate was sort of saving me, at the same time causing a lot of mental health problems as well. It's just that irony and that sort of contradiction about you know, doing a PhD when you're struggling with mental health. That's really fascinating. There's certainly is so much more to this story and to this journey. I'm excited to be able to continue to share that with people, and I'm at a place now where I can actually share, you know, more about this journey without necessarily feeling the trauma of what I experienced, and I look forward to doing that in this PhD series. You know, one day I hope that I'm able to be in a better position to share the story in a TED Talk. That's always been a dream of mine. So talking about what I've struggled with and where I am now and what I've overcome and the resilience that was needed, you know, I definitely feel that would be an amazing TED Talk that I'd love to give one day. I look forward to seeing you in future videos on this series for my PhD journey. I hope that there was something valuable that you could take, and I'm excited to share with you more videos about my experience in my PhD journey. So I hope to see you in the next video of my series, where I talk about the title doctor and what it has come to mean to me. I have been on this journey in scholarship and in academia and this whole PhD journey to sort of find my scholarly voice, and I'm still out there in this specific journey of finding my voice, and I'm really happy to have started this channel and this specific series. So I really appreciate you listening and giving my voice a chance, especially at this time where I'm still finding my voice and still evolving with my voice. So this is Dr. Elsa. Yes, it's doctor. It's not Miss, Ms, or Mrs. It's doctor. Peace, warmth, and blessings to you. Thank you again for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Let's continue to have those difficult conversations. See ya.